All right. I think we're good. Recording there. Live here. Mic check, mic check. All right. Let me get back to reading these questions. Because what are your advices? Okay. What are your advices to improve? What's your advice to improve listening with native speakers? Rubio. I'm not sure if that's actually your name, but to improve your listening skills or like understanding native speakers, you just got to listen to more native speakers, man. I mean, I really don't know what else to say. Now, you could listen to things that have like captions, subtitles, or transcripts or something like that, like the Life in English podcast, for example, where you can read what you're listening to and start to associate the actual words that you see on the paper with the sounds that you're hearing when the person is speaking. But other than that, it really is just like practice and repetition. But listening actively, like if you're just saying, I'm listening to a podcast or the radio or TV while I'm doing the dishes or while I'm drawing or something like that, that's cool. But if you're not actively paying attention to what's being said and paying attention to the details of pronunciation, the words that they choose in certain situations and things like that, the way they connect their words together, then, you know, you're probably never going to improve in that area because it's something that has to be done actively, not passively, you know? So that's my recommendation for you. When do you usually go live on TikTok? Whenever I have time. It used to be like I would try to do it once a week at least, but I've just been really busy lately, so I don't necessarily have the time like I used to, but it's just whenever I have time, mainly Thursdays and Fridays, if that helps, but it's no specific day or time. We meet at Texas, Brazil, the steakhouse. We did not meet there, but that's okay. Tweaking. What does tweaking mean? Tweaking is the same thing as tripping in every context, honestly. Tweaking really originally, I could be wrong about this, but when I think about tweaking, I immediately think drugs. Like somebody's tweaking, they tripping off of some type of drug. They've done a lot of drugs, so now they're acting crazy. They're tweaking. But you can also use it the same way you would use tripping in any context. So if somebody's just like overreacting to something really small, you say, man, she's tripping. You could also say, man, she's tweaking. And it's the same exact thing. Tripping, tweaking. I feel like there's another one that's very similar, but tripping and tweaking to me are the same thing. I need to practice with my pronunciation. I feel like when I do, I'm summoning a demon. I don't know what you mean by that. It's also not a question, so I don't really know how to respond. How do I know if my English is good? I don't think I've ever been asked that question before. How do I know if my English is good? That's a good question. Give me a second. I'm going to think about that because that's a good question. I think there's a few ways you can know if your English is actually good. In no particular order, here they are. The first one is if you just find yourself randomly thinking in English just because, I think that's the point where you know, like my brain is really starting to accept the fact that I speak more than one language or that this new language is important and therefore it needs to be remembered. You see what I'm saying? When you just randomly find yourself having thoughts in English or saying things in English, or even when somebody in your native language is talking to you in your native language and you just naturally want to respond with an expression or a word in English because it just feels better, that's how I think you know your level is increasing or improving. The other one is when you don't find yourself making an effort to understand spoken English. That's how you know like you're really starting to understand the language. Because in the beginning, as a beginner or even an intermediate speaker sometimes, you have to focus on what's being said to understand what's being said. Like you can't be on the computer typing or reading a blog article and then understand the TV in a foreign language because it's just not as normal for your brain as your native language. But if your native language is on the TV, you can be reading a book and the words, the audio from the TV are entering your brain, and you can still understand every single word that's being said without trying. It's your native language. So when you can do that in the foreign language, that's how you know, okay, I've reached a pretty high level, because the sound is just entering my brain and being interpreted and understood without me having to focus on it. It's just background noise, but I still understand every word. When that started happening for me, that's how I knew I really understand this language, you know? So I think that's a good sign. Also, I think when you don't necessarily feel a difference between the way that you, how can I say that accurately? You know how when you're learning the foreign language, especially in the beginning, you feel like a different person when you're speaking the foreign language, because it's a completely different way of expressing yourself. Like the intonation, the word choice, the grammar, everything is just fucking different. So you don't even have like the mental capacity to focus on being yourself and expressing yourself. I don't know if that makes sense. But there comes a point where you reach a good enough level to where you don't have to think about the actual words that you're choosing or the way you're expressing yourself or how it sounds when it comes out of your mouth. You're just talking because you're so comfortable with the language. So when you get to that point, you can just be yourself, you know, which is interesting to think about too, because there's an idea that we have different personalities when we speak different languages. And people have told me before, like, you sound different, you act different when you speak Portuguese or Spanish or English. Your voice changes and stuff like that. And I never really thought about it, but there might be some truth to that. Let me know if you're watching this live on TikTok. Let me know in the comments. Do you feel different? Do you feel like your personality or your voice changes when you speak a foreign language? Because I think when you get to that point where maybe you act different or your mannerisms or your voice changes when you're speaking that foreign language, but you feel like you can be yourself 100% because you don't have to think about the language. I think that's when you know I've gotten to a good level where I'm not even thinking about the words I'm saying. I'm just saying them. Because that's what you do with your native language, right? Like, you might think before you speak in your native language, but you're thinking about what you want to say or how you want to say it and not the actual individual words. Like, where does the go in the sentence? Where does the adverb go? Does the grammar or does the verbs go at the beginning or the end of the sentence in this language? You're not thinking about shit like that. So I think when you get to that point, it's like, okay, I'm doing pretty good. I think also when you consistently have positive interactions with other people, and I don't mean like people just like you or like you're a more likable person, but I mean when you're trying to communicate with somebody, you have an objective to either receive or transmit a message. And when you can consistently receive and transmit messages with multiple people without having any like major problems, then you know I'm doing good. Because a lot of times in the beginning, like, there's a whole bunch of misunderstandings, or you get lost all the time. There's a bunch of words you don't understand that this person is saying, or you can't express basic ideas, or you can't talk about a bunch of different subjects, right? And for that reason, you don't have consistently positive experiences trying to express yourself in this language. But when time after time after time it's positive, like I said what I wanted to say, I could express myself, I understood, 75, 80, 90% of what they said, doing pretty good, So this is a very long answer to your question, but I'm just, I never thought about it. How do you know for sure? Other people say, like, once you start dreaming in the language, then like, I've reached this really high level. But I've never had a dream in Spanish or Portuguese. I actually don't have dreams. I mean, it's not a fair thing to say, because I actually don't really have dreams like that. That might sound like a weird thing to say, but I have probably like 6 or 7 dreams every year. Like, I'm one of those people that goes to sleep and it's just darkness. From the time I go to sleep to the time I wake up, there's no dream. Like, since I was a kid, like a really young age, I don't even remember as a kid having a bunch of dreams. I know I had them, but I would say since like 12 or 13 years old, nothing. For sure since like 14 or 15, no dreams. I go to sleep and it's just darkness. Nothing. So I don't even have dreams in English. Getting back to the point, I don't even have dreams in English, so I'm probably not the best person to say whether or not dreams in a foreign language is an indicator that you've reached a high level. Because I've reached a high level in Spanish and Portuguese, but I don't dream in those languages. The only time I know for sure I'm going to have a dream is if I get drunk before I go to sleep. I don't know why, but I know, like, I've noticed if I drink a lot of alcohol before I go to sleep, I'm going to have a dream that night, and it's going to be some wild, fucking crazy dream. Just, like, all dreams can be random and wild and crazy, but when I drink before I go to sleep, they're just the weirdest, most random dreams. But that's the only time. Every other night. For years now. Just darkness. You know? And they say there's like 2 stages. There might be more, I think, but I know for sure there's at least 2 stages of sleep, right? You have like the deep sleep, and then you have rapid eye movement sleep, or REM sleep, which is the part where you're actually having dreams, right? And it just feels like I don't have that stage of sleep. My brain is just like, fuck that. Let's just sleep deeply all night. And I'm cool with it, you know? But I don't know about you, but I find myself dreaming like during the day all the time. Like just absent-minded and having what we call daydreams, which is dreams during the day. So I could be wide awake, just like staring off into space, having a dream, just in some other universe. That happens all the time. So I think I do my dreaming when I'm awake, not when I'm asleep. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I think. So anyway, well, how do we even get on that subject? Oh, yeah. You asked me, how do I know that I'm doing good in the language? Let me get to some of y'all questions before I get way off track. We understood, and that happens because people only speak Spanish have a hard time. Wasn't a dream. That was real. I don't know what that means. I feel like I'm acting. Yes, I also feel like I'm acting when I speak in English. Actually, that's a really interesting comment. What's your name? Dominic. That's what we're going to call you. That's the first half of your screen name. So, Dominic, that's an interesting comment. You feel like you're acting when you're speaking English. I think this is something I've thought about for a long time, but never really formulated my actual idea. But I think some particular people that will have a lot of success learning foreign languages are people that know how to act. And what I mean when I say that is learning a language isn't just about learning new words. That's like half the battle. That might not even be half the battle. Because obviously it's important, but language is so much more than just words and letters. Hopefully we can agree on that. It's like energy, it's emotion being communicated. There's physical gestures that we do based on the language that we speak in the country we grew up in. That's also language. Like, it's just one part of communication. But anyway, people that know how to act, I think, do really good because, and this is just my opinion, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, but I think people that are great actors or people that are just hyper vigilant, they're very observant people, pick up on or notice like somebody's mannerisms, their gestures, the way their eyes move when they're speaking, their tone of voice when they say certain things, like the way they connect their words together and how it's different from somebody of a different region who speaks the same language. People that naturally notice stuff like that, like myself, just naturally are better at sounding like a native when they speak or just understanding natives when they speak, you know? Which is why it's so weird that that's something that's not taught in like English schools or most courses. A lot of people don't talk about communication. They just talk about language, which is just a part of communication. Like language shouldn't be the focus, I think. It's part of it, but language is the tool that you use to complete like to achieve a bigger objective, right? Which is communicate. So getting back to the acting part, people that know how to act and imitate the voices that they hear or the sounds that they hear or the mannerisms and gestures and things like that, I think have an unfair advantage over everybody else trying to learn not just how to speak the language, but how to speak it like a native and understand the natives and stuff like that. People who are just naturally interested in culture and history and want to know why people say that thing or why they say it that way or why that's offensive or why that's funny or whatever it is, People who are just naturally interested in those things, I think, do a lot better when trying to learn a language, because all of that influences how we use the language. Who says certain things and why other people don't. Stuff like that. You know? So I look at it that way. And that's another thing. I think I'm going to make a podcast episode about this in the future, is having a language role model. That comment about you feeling like an actor ties directly into this other idea, which is anybody listening right now, I strongly recommend that you find what I like to call a language role model. And what that is, first of all, a role model, I don't have the textbook definition, but a role model is somebody that you look up to, so to speak, somebody you admire and you try to emulate. So let's say you're a soccer player. That's a universal idea. Your role model could be Messi, for example. That's your favorite player. You love not just the way he plays, but his character, his style, his vision, something about him makes you want to play like him, right? You identify with him in some way. So a language role model, I think, is the same idea. If you're going to learn a language that's quite diverse, like English, for example, I would say I would recommend finding one person or one group of people, one accent, one dialect, one region, and focus solely, completely on that. Like, you don't really need to be focused on like the Australian dialect, the American dialect, the British dialect, and try to learn and get exposed to all these things. Like, over time, that's cool. You can do that. But in the beginning, pick somebody that speaks in a way that you really appreciate. It could be the president. It could be your favorite actor. It could be an athlete, one of your friends. It really doesn't matter who it is. But you like their voice. You like their accent. You like the way in which they speak and all that type of stuff, their vocabulary or whatever it is. Pick that person and try to copy them specifically. Pay much more attention to the way they express themselves, the words that they choose, the way that they pronounce their words and stuff like that. Because it's probably going to be completely different from somebody that's from the other side of that country or the other side of the world. So when you do that, when you have a language role model, now you can focus on one way of speaking and just try to copy that. Because when you're listening to a bunch of different kinds of English, you never really know what you're listening to because you don't have the cultural understanding that a native does. So you might think this one way of speaking is very cool, and you just don't know that if you speak that way in this particular setting, people are going to judge you for it or have a particular impression of you. You don't have that cultural understanding yet. So by picking one person, you can learn how is it that they communicate. Is this person formal or informal? Is this person vulgar or not? Do they use a lot of curse words? Do they use a lot of slang and stuff like that? And then you can decide, do I want to speak like that or not? If the answer is yes, focus on that person. If the answer is no, go find somebody else that speaks in the way you would like to speak and only listen to people that speak that way so that you're constantly hearing what you want to sound like. And then you start to imitate it and you just practice and naturally you grow like that. Let me know if that makes sense. I don't even know if that idea makes sense when I explain it. Never explained that to somebody before. Bro, you just made me smile because I was always learning English by acting, and now I know that I was great. That's what's up. Do you have any podcasts? Peralta? I'm not sure what your name is, but yes, we're actually recording a podcast right now, live. Life in English, episode number 119, talking about nothing, number 3. That's what this is. So on any platform where podcasts are downloaded, you can just search Life in English and you should find me. Or you can go to lifeinenglish.net and check it out there. Why do some people use them instead of those? Example, wash them dishes. That's an excellent question. And I say that because I'm actually preparing an episode right now about that specifically. So the reason some people say wash them dishes instead of wash those dishes is just a question of culture. It's a different dialect of English, formerly known as Ebonics, which is the word I prefer, but it's also known as Black English. It's also known as African American Vernacular English. So that's the reason. It's just a different dialect of English. Now, why it's said that way in that dialect, I don't know. I have no idea. But that's the reason. Some people say them dishes and some people say those dishes. Some people say, I don't like them people. Some people say, I don't like those people. You know, just a different dialect. So there you go. Yeah, it makes sense. Cool. All right, so we made sense. We made sense there. Find a role model and a language exchange partner. Find them both. Anyway, you know something else I wanted to talk about, bro? I'm curious to know your opinion on this. Is self-flying drones. I cannot wait. A lot of people are afraid of technological advancements and are afraid of just technology in general and artificial intelligence and robots taking jobs and eventually like hurting humanity and shit like that. That's possible. But I can tell you one thing I'm super excited for is self-flying drones. Just like they have self-flying cars. Self-driving cars. We already got those. I think they have self-flying planes too, bro. I can't confirm that, so don't quote me on that, but I think we got self-flying planes. But anyway, a drone, just in case you don't know, drone. A drone is essentially like, what would you call it? Like a mini helicopter, a remote control helicopter / plane. I don't fucking know. But anyway, the remote controlled or the self-flying drones, that's what I was talking about. I have a lot of like video ideas and content and things I want to make, but I need a cameraman and I don't have one. So when self-flying drones come around, imagine that, because drones typically already come with the camera on the bottom. So imagine a world, and this is going to happen. I really believe this. Imagine a world in which people are just walking around with like this little drone, probably no bigger than my hand, just flying around above them, hovering around over their heads, recording their daily life or recording whatever they want to record. It's like the ultimate vlogging tool at that point. Because a lot of people, what we have now is just like the obnoxious scene of like somebody walking with a selfie stick. You guys remember those things? The fucking stick that would extend and you put the phone on the end and you're walking around with like just this stick in front of you. When you stop and think about how fucking ridiculous selfie sticks actually are, you look fucking ridiculous holding this stick out in front of you. Like, jeez. You know? Effective, but they look ridiculous. And then you just have people that decided, I'm just going to walk with my arm out in front of me, right? Your arm became the selfie stick. At some point, they're going to create a way where you can just throw the device up into the air and it just floats around you. That's going to happen. Wouldn't you agree? Would you agree? I think so. And I can't wait, because then you can go record. Imagine the fucking videos that could be made, the vlogs, the documentaries that could be made. If there was a piece of technology that was smart enough, like you would probably have to wear some type of chip or something that sends off a signal to let the camera know that it's supposed to record you, right? It's always facing you. But then you could just walk around your daily life and the camera always just knows where to be. You click a button and you can say stay at a 45-degree angle, stay at a 90-degree angle, or whatever. And it just knows to stay there and record you from that angle. You could press a button or do a hand gesture and it moves to a different angle. That's going to happen. Don't you think? They're probably working on that right now, and I will be one of the first customers. You know? Could make so much more dope stuff if I just had my own personal cameraman. And with a drone, it's like, it's just always there. You don't got to call them and be like, hey, can you record today? You just charge it and turn it on. I don't know about y'all. I'm kind of happy about robots replacing people in many aspects, you know? Like, it's something that people complained about for a long time, you know, the rise of AI and technology, and they're going to take all our jobs and all that type of stuff. But that's like kind of a good thing in some places. Don't you think? There are some places where people just like, you know, why are you here? Like at the grocery store. I know that they don't do this in many countries yet, and maybe you've heard of this, but in the U.S., for example, you go to the grocery store, at least most national grocery stores, let's say, like Walmart, for example, I know this for a fact. You go there, and they have the traditional checkout lines, like every other store. When you finish gathering everything you want to buy, you walk in line and put the things on the conveyor belt, and this man or this woman will scan the items and tell you how much money you got to pay. That's the traditional checkout line. But now we have what they call self-checkouts, where you don't have to talk to anybody. You don't have to wait for anybody. You walk up yourself to the little machine, the cash register, scan all your items, put them in the bag, and then you pay. Self-checkout. And I would say it's not necessarily always faster than the traditional checkout, but just being able to just like, we don't need another human being to do this. You know? I can scan my own fucking groceries. You know what I'm saying? Now, there is an alternative opinion, which is like, you know, now I'm basically working for the grocery store. Like, I'm not being paid to fucking bag the groceries and do all that shit. That's somebody else's job. And that's probably not the best example of what I'm trying to say, but I'm just saying robots replacing people in many cases, I think, is positive. You know, robots just kind of do what they're supposed to do. People need more effort. I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you think? I'm trying to think of a better example in which it's like clearly better for a robot to be there as opposed to a human. But I can't think of one off the top of my head. I don't know. But you know where else I think technology is going to be very useful, and somebody's going to figure out a way to do this, I think in the near future, is by using artificially intelligent robots to teach language. Because we already have virtual reality, augmented reality, artificially intelligent robots that can have conversations with humans. So imagine a robot that speaks all languages, right? Basically Google Translate, but like in one place, speaks and understands all languages and has like an authentic voice. So if you switch it to Mandarin, for example, you'll hear an authentic voice of somebody that speaks Mandarin or English or Russian or Japanese, whatever the language is. It'll have all of them on there preloaded, and you can put on the fucking headphones and the goggles and sit there with a microphone and practice your speaking and listening skills. You can like change the level of intensity. So like basic English, the robot will speak to you in basic English, then intermediate, then advanced. And you can change that kind of like a video game. And then it'll have like speaking exercises where it will judge your speech and tell you need to improve in this area or that area, or try saying it this way or try saying it that way. 150% guaranteed somebody's going to figure out how to do that, to where you don't even need some guy like me to teach you these things. You can just go on there and practice with a fucking robot. Obviously it won't be the same, but it'll be close enough. It'll be close enough. I think we need a few more years for virtual reality to become, let's say, part of a larger consumer base. Like more people have to have virtual reality in their homes. It has to be more trendy for there to be a business behind it, but somebody's going to figure that out, right? I would think so. I think that's one thing that's missing from the education industry in general, but definitely the English education space, is just proper use of technology. Like I've seen a lot of interesting apps that are built to help people practice and improve their English skills. There's lots of great podcasts out there, YouTube videos and things like that. But when you stop and think about all the technology we have at our disposal, from video editing to audio to all the movies and music and just all the media in general, and then artificially intelligent technology and things like that, we can do a lot to improve the way we teach languages to people and how fun and engaging it is, and like the variety of ways, because typically you have in the classroom, online courses, YouTube videos, podcasts, and that's it. But creating like basically a Netflix for English learners, creating a YouTube for English learners, you know, an Amazon bookstore for English learners, but all of that in one place, to where literally any way you want to learn the language, we've got a section of it here for you. Whether you like books, that's here, videos, that's here, podcasts, that's here, video games, movies, etc. I don't know if I'm making much sense. This is just the way I think about teaching and education and using life to learn English or any language. With all the technology we have, like, we could be doing a lot more. A lot more. So I'm excited to see where the industry goes, where technology goes, and how the ways in which we teach continue to like evolve and hopefully get better, right? That's the idea. I see a bunch of comments coming in here, so I'm going to try to read some. Hold on. Have you seen the film Her? Yes, I have. Interesting movie, kind of like goes back to the concept I was just talking about, right? Where people are just interacting with robots. That was an interesting movie, and I don't think it was so far away from what we know as reality, because the idea, I don't know when the movie came out. The movie Her, Her, for any of y'all that might be confused, with I think his name is Joaquin Phoenix, right? The dude who played the Joker in the last Joker movie, which is basically this guy who, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was this guy who was like, and he ended up in a romantic relationship with an artificially intelligent robot. Like, he didn't have anybody else in his life, and somehow he ended up going to what was basically like this futuristic Apple store or something, and he bought this robot, turned it on, and like they started having conversations and slowly fell in love with each other and that type of thing. When you stop and think about it, that's a lot of people's reality right now. Like, they have nobody in their immediate circle. They don't interact with many people on a daily basis. And if they do, it's surface level interactions. It's strangers, people at the grocery store. And the rest of their life is just on a phone, an electronic device. Like, all their interactions are on their phone. Everything they consume in terms of media, music, movies, videos, everything is on their phone. Everything they read is on their phone. That's like people's reality right now. People in long distance relationships, that's been their reality for as long as it was possible, right? Because when you think about it, like you live here and your girlfriend lives in fucking, I don't know, Dubai or something like that, across the world. It's essentially the same thing, right? Because his girlfriend was just in this phone. It was the only way that they could be connected. A long distance relationship is no different, right? So that's why whenever somebody asks, like, if you could have any superpower, what would it be? Like, automatically teleportation, bro. How could that not be your choice? To be able to just be anywhere at any time, just poof, and go? Like, obviously the best choice. If you could have any superpower, any one, which one would it be? For me, it's certainly teleportation. I'd love to travel too. I could just fucking pop over to Italy if I want. South Africa. Japan. Instantaneously. Come on, man. Let me know. Reverse time. Somebody says reverse or like go back in time, I guess is what you mean. I thought about that, but I don't know. I'm sure you've seen movies or videos about when somebody goes back in time and then they do something that affects the way the future then develops. So they go back to the present moment and everything's different. You know? I don't know about altering the past. If you could do it like again and again and again, I guess, just to have fun and see how things would turn out. But I don't know how that would work. It's an interesting one, but I don't know exactly how it would work. Somebody else says they would stop time. And what would you do after you stop time? Like, what would be different in your life? How would you live life differently if you could stop time? That's the question. Money. That's not a superpower, but okay. But they're talking with real people. The movies were just having a relationship with a robot. Yeah, that's true. Going back to the movie Her, that's true. In a long distance relationship, you're talking with real people. In the movie, he was talking with just a robot. That's true. But there have also been situations in which two people meet online and then they get to know each other, they fall in love, and they're dating. Like, technically, you know it's a real person only because you've done like a video call with them. Other than that, you wouldn't really know. You've never touched them. You've never been in the same place as them. And many people meet the love of their life this way, at least in 2021. You know? So it's not that different. Like, you know it's a real person, or at least you think it is. But you could get on the phone with some of these AI robots and you have no idea you're not talking to a real person. Or it takes you a few minutes to kind of pick up on the fact that it's not a real person. And just at the rate that technology is advancing, I can only imagine that these AI robots are going to get better, not worse. So if you just didn't know whether or not you were talking to a robot or a real person, what other differences are there? You know? Which raises the question, how important is the physical aspect of a romantic relationship, or any relationship for that matter? How important is that? Do you think you personally could be involved in a romantic relationship? I'm talking of years, 1, 3, 5 years, 7 years, where you only communicate with this person via phone call, video call, text message, email, whatever, but you never physically are with the person. How long you think you could be in a relationship like that? It's tough, man. That's a tough one. If you could have any power, you would choose flying. That's decent, but I think I could pass on the flying. I would choose to read minds of people, what they are thinking right now. That's another good choice. But I don't know if I could handle all that weird shit. People got a lot of weird shit going on in their minds, man. That's another thing, man. I encourage anybody listening right now, it's the start of the month. It's December 3rd at the time of recording this. It's a new month. Why not give yourself like a new 30-day challenge? I challenge any and everybody listening right now to just invest for the next 30 days in the art of listening. Why do I say that? I say that because people will tell you the most random shit, the most interesting stuff, just because they know you're listening. Like when you stop and think, this sounds obvious, or maybe it sounds dumb. I don't know how it sounds to you. But what I mean when I say that is, like, most people in general don't get listened to. Everybody's talking. It's like, I'm sure you've heard a conversation before between two or more people, and it's like both people are talking to each other, but they're not necessarily listening to each other. Like, I talk, and then while you're talking, I'm just waiting for my turn to talk, or I'm thinking about the next thing I want to say, but I'm not really listening to you. I'm just talking to you because I know you're listening, and you're responding. So we're doing this thing, but we're not, you know what I mean? I'm sure you've witnessed or been a part of a conversation like that. But if you can be the person that's genuinely listening to what the other person has to say and is more invested in listening than talking, and you know how to ask questions and make statements, people will tell you like the most personal, like deep stories about themselves without you even having to ask. And maybe that doesn't make much sense because I'm not giving you like a concrete example, but just I've noticed that like over many, many years, like if you just listen attentively and encourage the person to keep talking and tell you more about that story, and then you know how to, let's say, give your opinion without being judgmental, without attacking in any way, just being a naturally curious person, people will tell you all kinds of stuff, So just try it for the next 30 days. Watch some YouTube videos about how to listen properly. Listen to lots of podcasts, listen to conversations, and just pay attention to the way the conversation flows. Who does more listening? Who asks better questions? Going back to what I was talking about in the beginning, like 20 minutes ago, which is studying the art of communication and not just language. Because you could speak fucking 10 languages and still not know how to have good conversations. Nobody gives a fuck how many languages you speak. It's how you use them. That's really important. And language is just as much about listening as it is about talking. I think it's more about listening. And communication is much more about listening. For sure. So give it a try, man. Improve your listening skills, and you'll start to hear more interesting things. Ain't that some shit? When you listen more attentively, you could be talking to the same person or hear the same type of thing and find something interesting in what was said that you wouldn't be able to find or notice if you weren't actually paying attention or listening. Like, people communicate deep feelings and emotions, or like give you hints of very interesting stories all the time in casual conversation. And most people never get to dive into those stories or feelings or thoughts or opinions because they're just not paying attention. They're not listening, I don't know if this is making any sense. Again, this is talking about nothing. I'm just sitting here talking. Somebody let me know if it makes sense. All right, I forgot. I gotta read these comments. Give me a second. Bro, what's up? What's up? Zalem? I can't see that from here. I'm sorry, bro. Yes, it makes sense. Okay. Kaizen is making sense today. What time do you usually stream? No particular time, bro. Whenever I got the time. That's the time. Yes, when I finished my school, I chose to listen, not talk. Every day I'm listening more than talking. That's what's up, bro. I agree with Miguel. Please send me un saludito. Who's that? Shout out Fabiola Sanchez. What's happening? Thanks for being here. A relationship at distance happens before. I don't know what that means, my friend. Greetings from El Salvador. Shout out to all my people in El Salvador. Much love to y'all. Shout out to my people in Spain as well. How many? Let me speak. Hang on, y'all. I'm trying to read some of these comments, see if there's any questions before I continue with my rambling shit. You know. All right, I think we good. Now, a question I wanted to ask y'all before I get out of here. It's crazy. It's already been 40 minutes. But anyway, something else I wanted to ask y'all while I'm here is, what do y'all think is missing from the English education industry? Because I talked a little bit earlier about how I don't think we're using technology enough. We're not using it to its fullest potential when it comes to teaching English and culture and stuff like that online. I think we could be doing a lot more. So I want to ask you, an actual student, a consumer of the content and the courses and everything that we do in this industry, what do you guys think is missing from the language education industry? Is it a certain style of teaching that you haven't seen that you would like to see? Is it a certain course that you haven't seen but you wish somebody would make a course about it? Is it a type of content? Is it longer videos, shorter videos? Is it more books? What do you think is it like experience based, where you wish a teacher would create some type of experience and not necessarily a course or a video? What do you guys think? Because like as a teacher, and somebody who's just interested in business, I look at things a certain way, but obviously I'm not going to see things from your perspective as somebody who, in this case, is a student, somebody who is the consumer and not the provider, let's say, or the producer, right? So let's read some of these comments. Hang on. I think we should let kids play more in English subs than our language. What do you mean play more in English subs? I don't know what that means. Talking about play, I mean games. Like play video games with English subtitles? I'm guessing that's what you're saying, but I'm not sure. It's basically focus on learn grammar. Okay. Well, we don't got no answers on the live, but if you're listening to this on YouTube or Spotify, Apple Podcasts, something like that, you're not listening to this live, send me a message. Don't be afraid. Let me know. What do you think is missing from the English education industry? What do you think is missing from life in English? The podcast, the YouTube channel, the TikTok, Instagram, whatever. What do you want to see more of? What do you think is missing? Because at the end of the day, doing this for you and you and you, right? So what do you guys think is missing? Let a brother know. All right, cool. We missing opportunities to practice our English. Huh. Who said that? Zach says one thing that's missing is opportunities to practice your English. And I agree with that. The only thing is that it can be very difficult to solve that problem. Because, for example, I'll use what I'm doing as an example. The Life in English VIP membership. And if you're not familiar with what that is, the Life in English VIP membership is essentially a situation in which you can practice, or you have the opportunity to practice, all aspects of your language. So if you're a Life in English VIP, you can read the vocabulary guides and transcripts of every podcast episode. So you're improving your reading skills, your comprehension, your listening skills. You can hear what's being said in the podcast and learn new words and expressions and focus on the grammar and stuff like that. So you're listening and you're reading. And then you can join our private conversation group on Discord, which is a place where you get to speak and listen to other real people. So I try to create an environment in which you can practice all aspects of the language for a relatively low price with real people. Now, the challenge that I've noticed since we launched maybe a month ago is that even in situations in which people have opportunities to practice their language skills, they don't take advantage of the opportunities. It's the weirdest thing. It's the weirdest thing. There could be 15 people in a group chat and nobody ever says anything. Or if somebody sends a message there for somebody to respond, nobody responds. It's the weirdest thing. Even when people, like in our case, people are paying money for the membership to be a part of this community and they don't practice. They have access to me. They could send me a direct message. They could call me on the phone anytime and they don't. So I agree. What most people don't have is an opportunity to practice their English. But what I think is an even bigger problem is that even when people get the opportunity, they don't take advantage of it for whatever reason. Maybe they don't have time, they're afraid, they're nervous, they don't care enough, whatever it is. So yes, I think opportunities to practice are lacking across the world, but I also think that it's two other things. One, the lack of incentivization by the teachers for the students to step outside their comfort zone and start communicating and practicing. You know, and it's arguable if that's the teacher's responsibility or not, right? But the second thing is just students making a conscious choice not to practice when they have the opportunity and then complaining about it later. And I'm not saying you specifically that made the comment. I'm just saying that's one thing I've noticed is that, you know, you can lead a horse. Here's an idiom for you, an English idiom, and you probably say this in other languages. You can lead a horse to water, but you cannot make the horse drink. In other words, like, you can teach a student the language, but you can't make them talk. That's probably the equivalent expression or idiom in this case. So I can teach you everything you need to know, but if you're not willing to take the risk and express yourself or be corrected or whatever it is, then it's all meaningless. It's like at the end of the day, it's on you. So that's what I think. All right. Okay, teacher, how do you translate Spanish? How do you translate the word podcast into Spanish? I don't think there is a translation. I think they just say podcast. I'm pretty sure. I don't think there's a translation. Watch a series in English. Does it help? Interesting. Does watching TV series in English help improve, I'm guessing, some aspect of English? Yeah, I think it definitely does. It just depends. Like I've said this a bunch of times before. Anything helps as long as you're intentional about it. Like reading fucking magazines is helpful if you're doing it the right way. Listening to music, watching TV series, movies, YouTube videos, listening to the podcast, whatever it is, all that stuff is helpful, but there's a way to do it that's more effective than other ways. So I think if you're taking notes while you're watching the TV series or the movie or whatever it is, and then searching for new words and expressions that you've learned after you watch the movie, or if you watch a movie and then have a conversation about it with a teacher or a language exchange partner or a friend, or, I mean, there's a bunch of stuff you could do, but I think just watching the TV series, you'll learn some things, but you won't be fluent in a language just watching TV series and doing nothing else, in my opinion. You know, I'm sure it's possible, but I think it makes it much harder if that's all you're doing. You know what I'm saying? So, yes, it can help, but it's not the only thing. Like 20 people ask me where I'm from. So everybody listening, I'm really not from anywhere. I always say San Diego because like Southern California is where I spent most of my life, but I've lived in a bunch of different cities. But I spent more time in California than any other state. So there you go. Southern California, San Diego, the US, that's where I'm from. I'm from here. Hang on. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink it, for sure. All right, I think we got all the questions. And I think I talked about everything I wanted to talk about. To be honest, I told myself this was going to be like a 30-minute episode. I was just going to come say what's up and then get up out of here. But you know how that goes. California boy, you already know, man. West Coast. Watch series in English. We already did that. All right, y'all. There's no more. There are some more questions. Hang on. I understand all the ideas, but I have problems to talk or express my ideas. Yeah, this is the problem with most people, man. I hear that like on a daily basis, where you can understand everything you hear, but you can't respond the way you would like to. And a lot of people don't like to hear this, but it really is just because you're not speaking enough. Just like everything else in life. It literally is like everything else in life. Everything else that you have to learn in life. Like you weren't a master shoe tire when you were a kid, but eventually you learn how to tie your shoes, and now you don't think about it. It's just second nature. You didn't brush your teeth perfectly the first time. You did it. Then you just do it every day, hopefully, right? Taking a bath or learning how to write. Your handwriting at 7 years old is probably, hopefully, different from your handwriting at 27 or 37. The words that you choose are different from the words you chose when you were 7 years old. You know, if you've been learning how to play an instrument, you were probably trash in the beginning and probably still trash now. No, I'm just kidding. But it takes time is the point. Any skill and learning how to express yourself in any language is a skill, so it takes time. And listening always comes before the speaking because it's something that it's input, not output. It's easier to consume than it is to produce, I think. So I think that's why the listening part comes first, and that gets easier before the speaking does, because when you're speaking, you have to try again and again and again and again and again, right? It's something that you have to do and make the effort to do, and a lot of people are comfortable just like sitting back and listening, and they feel good that they can listen, and then it's just this constant cycle where every time they try to express themselves, it's difficult and they feel like shit, or they feel like it's just taking too long. Well, it's because you don't do it enough. If you only go to the gym once a month, you're never going to lose those 30 pounds, bro. Good luck. You know, you're telling, yeah, I'm going to the gym. I'm in the gym. I'm working out. I'm getting her done. And they don't know. You're in there once every 30 fucking days, bro. And that's most of you. Most of you. Yeah, I'm learning English. I'm trying hard, watching Netflix every night. 7 o'clock, baby. My favorite program. But you're not talking to anybody. Ever. So that's my recommendation to you and anybody else is just practice more, bro. Like I do these lives, they're fun. I like teaching. I try to give away the tips. I try to do the podcasts and stuff like that. Stuff that you can't do on your own. But at the end of the day, like the talking part, that's what's missing for most people. And it's the one thing that a teacher can't influence or control or improve without somebody who's willing to do it. Like you know, I can teach you it all, but if you're not willing to take the risk and practice and be consistent, then I don't know what to tell you, bro. Just wasting time. You know? That's what I think. What do you think? What do you recommend for Spanish speakers to have a better performance speaking English? Stop talking to people who speak Spanish. I mean, I guess a more serious answer would be, to be honest, I don't have any tips that are specifically for Spanish speakers. You know, like I could tell you some things, like some common mistakes that specifically Spanish speakers make, but a tip for you guys to speak better, it's the same tip I give everybody else. Speak more. That's it. It's find a real person that you can talk to on a regular basis. It could be once a day. It could be a couple times a week. Even if it's just once a week, find real people that you can talk to and then talk to them as much as you can. Ask as many questions as you can. You should have like a notebook full of questions or things that are confusing, new words and expressions that you've been learning, so that anytime you get a chance to talk to a native, hopefully it's a friend or a partner or a teacher, you can ask them all those questions. You know? Stuff like that. That would be my recommendation. And that's for everybody, not just Spanish speakers, you know? How did you learn to speak both Spanish and English so well? Well, English is my first language, so that's not really fair. I had no choice. Spanish, I wouldn't say I speak it very well, but I learned to speak Spanish doing everything that I tell people to do every fucking day on this TikTok app, on YouTube, on my podcast. I did exactly what I'm telling you to do, which is practice every fucking day. That's it. Like, and everything else that everybody does, bro. Like, I watch novelas every day after class. They were an hour long. I would watch at least one every day, listening to music and translating the song lyrics. I would go to the Mexican grocery store instead of the American one, and I would try to talk to people in the Mexican grocery store in Spanish as opposed to going to the American one and speaking English. Shit like that. And I lived in, it wasn't really, how can I say this? At that time, I was living in San Diego, and there's hundreds, thousands, maybe millions of Mexicans and other Latinos in that city. So every time I'm in the street, there's somebody near me that speaks Spanish. So every time I heard somebody speaking Spanish, I would walk over to them and try to start a conversation. Stuff like that. I would just try to live my life in Spanish. I would only speak Spanish with my Mexican friends. Then I went to Mexico for 6 weeks. So I was just trying every way I could to force Spanish into my life. And then I learned how to speak it. That was it. Same thing with Portuguese. So I'm not saying all this like, oh, just live your life in English, just practice more, just talk more because it sounds good or because it sounds cool or it's, you know, like different from what everybody else is saying. This is just like common sense. And I don't say that to like sound arrogant or like I'm looking down at you like, how do you not know this? Because I didn't know either. When I learned my first foreign language, I didn't know how to do it. I just did what made sense and kind of figured it out. And it seems like people all around the world, even right now, don't understand the basic concept, which is language gets learned the same way every single time. So the same way you learn the first one, just learn the second one. You know what I mean? Don't have to overcomplicate the process. Just live your life in English. You see what I did there? Yeah. But that's it, man. That's it. To answer your question, that's how I learned. You spitting facts. Spitting facts. That's all I do, bro. All facts. No cap. What number do you have on your shirt? That's a good question. I don't have a number on the shirt, though. It's just the team shirt. There's no name on the back. It just has like the little red devil on the back of the shirt at the top, but that's it. What novellas did you watch? The one I watched the most back in those days was La Rosa de Guadalupe. There were some other ones, but I can't remember the names of them at the moment. There weren't like a bunch. There's probably 2 or 3 that I watched consistently. I just can't remember the names of the other ones. La Rosa de Guadalupe y... Yeah, I can't remember the other ones. But La Rosa de Guadalupe, I watched that like every day for months, for sure. So if you could recommend some more, I'd appreciate that. Uh, you look like a peace guy, my bro. Appreciate it. I don't know exactly what you mean by that. I guess peaceful, like cool. If that's the case, I appreciate you, my friend. Uh, bro, I need advice about listening. Hold on. Listening is difficult for me to understand when someone talks to me. So, what's your name? Andy? I'm assuming is your name. Sorry if it's not. But you're saying that you need some advice because it's difficult for you to understand people when they talk to you. I would say the main reason for that is because you're not listening enough. You should be listening to people speak in English every single day, every chance you get, which is why podcasts are a perfect way to do that because you don't have to sit and watch if you don't want to. You don't have to stop what you're doing. You can be doing other stuff. It's not the best way, but it's much better than nothing. So if the only time you have is on the train or at the gym or washing dishes, whatever it is, you can be listening to English and you can listen to somebody who's just talking like a monologue. Like my podcast most of the time is just me. So you'd be listening to one person, or you can listen to something more dynamic like 2 or even 3 or 4 people having a conversation. And really it's just about practice. I don't have any specific technique or trick to help you understand when you listen better. It really is just repetition. Actively listening consistently over time makes it much easier to understand the language. That's the only tip I have is to listen more. And if you need to, get the transcript of the video or the episode or whatever it is and read and listen at the same time. But what you're not going to like, but you simply have to accept is that it takes time. It's not like you do it every day for a week and you're immediately this expert level English speaker or listener or whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's going to take time. So patience is the other piece of the puzzle, I would say. La Rosa de Guadalupe is very dramatic now. La Rosa de Guadalupe was always fucking dramatic, man. That's the thing is I would only get access to whatever was on TV at the time because in San Diego, at least, I don't know about the whole country, but there at the time, which was like 2012, 2013, we had maybe 2 or 3 channels that were all in Spanish. And when I would get home from class, that show was just always on around that time, like 4 p.m. or something like that. And I would watch it, and I thought to myself, I was like, are all these novellas like this fucking corny, bro? They're so dramatic. They're so like, I don't know, fucking corny. They're not bad, which is contradictory. I mean, they're corny, but they're not like unbearable. I could sit and watch it and follow the story, but it just like, you're right. They're extremely dramatic. But what I do appreciate is like, it's one of the few shows today, I think, where every episode, 2 things that are really cool. They use a bunch of different actors, so it's not the same actors in every single episode. I think that's pretty cool. And number 2, they always try to leave you with like a good, solid, positive message about something. Whether it's like stop bullying, don't harm yourselves, treat people with respect and kindness, whatever it is, they use like some relatable situation to pass on a good message. So I think that's cool. Shout out to La Rosa de Guadalupe and whoever creates the show. Como dice el dicho, that was the other one that I used to watch. I like La Rosa de Guadalupe much more, but I used to watch that one too. Hang on a second. I'm from Mozambique. We speak Portuguese as official language. South Africa is our country neighbor. That's what's up. What have you been up to, man? I haven't seen you for a while. So the question is, Kaizen, where you been? Just working, man. Honestly, just working a lot. Been really. Oh, Almost fucked up my life. But yeah, Kaizen, where you been? Just working, bro. I've been super busy, and now I'm back. Kaizen is back, baby. But nothing in particular, just working, man. That's all. Colombia. Entiendo todo, pero no sé escribirlo. All right. Привет. Shout out to my Russian viewers. I appreciate y'all. Hang on a second. I'm trying to, anybody that's just listening, not watching this on live, I'm reading questions because I'm live on TikTok and recording this podcast at the same time. That's gone way too long. Been here for a fucking hour, bro. How is that possible? How the fuck could one human being by himself sit here and talk about nothing for an hour? I could talk for 3 more hours. That's why I like podcasting is the right place for me, because I don't really have much of like an on-camera personality, but I could sit here and just talk, bro. There's so much to talk about, right? There's never not something to talk about. Anyway, let me get back to these comments, man. I'm tripping. I'm from Ethiopia. Do you know about Ethiopians? I don't know much about Ethiopia or Ethiopians. All I know is that for some reason, people from that region, or maybe just from that country, are referred to as Habesha. Correct me if I'm wrong, but when I was living in Dallas, I used to play every week with a lot of dudes from East Africa, from Ethiopia, Eritrea, and I believe a couple were from Sudan. But anyway, I think it was them that told me people from Ethiopia or that region are referred to as Habesha. And I don't know what that word means. I think they explained it to me, but I can't remember. But that's all I know about Ethiopia. And apparently, you guys have great food. And apparently, I don't know if this is true, but apparently, people in Ethiopia typically don't use utensils when they eat. Somebody, can you confirm that for me, please? Let me know if in Ethiopia you guys don't typically use like forks and knives and spoons and things like that. You eat everything with your hands. That was something else I noticed. Like with the guys I was referring to that I played soccer with all the time, they, for example, preferred to use their hands. Like they took me to a Mediterranean restaurant one time and everybody was eating with their hands. Which, you know, is not weird or anything. It's just like a, you know, if you're familiar with at least United States American culture, like we typically use forks and knives and spoons for most of our meals, unless it's something meant to be consumed with hands, like pizza or a cheeseburger. And there's some cases where like some people will even eat a cheeseburger with a fork and a knife, or pizza with a fork and a knife, which I think is fucking criminal. We should lock those people up. That's some weird shit. But anyway, let me know. Is it true that in Ethiopia you guys typically only eat with your hands? I'm curious. Hold on. I love you, Tony. I love you too, Scarlett. Shout out to you. I appreciate the love. I love all of y'all. Anybody listening right now, much love. Man United shirt says, "See!" Shout out CR7. They always talking shit about CR7, but guess what he does? Time and time again. Time and time again. You don't fucking doubt CR7, man. What's wrong with y'all? What's wrong with you niggas, man? No sentí que pasó una hora. Bro, how often do you do your lives? I don't want to miss them. Yeah, anybody who hasn't heard already, I don't really have like a set schedule for these live streams, to be honest with you, man. It's just like whenever I have time. I try to do it once a week, but it's just whenever I have time, you know. And I always tell myself like, it's just a quick 30 minutes. I just want to come say what's up, maybe teach a quick lesson, and then I'm going to be out because I got shit to do. And then I'm always here, fucking hour, 2 hours, every time. So typically Thursdays and Fridays, because those are days that are more like chill for me. I'm not as busy. And typically like late morning or mid-afternoon. But, and I don't know if there's a way, I think there's a way, at least on TikTok, where I can like schedule a live stream so you know days in advance I'm going to be live on this day at this time. I might try and do that just so you can know ahead of time and you won't miss it. But yeah, I try once a week, but I don't always manage. Oh shit, hang on. ¿Te gusta Venezuela? I can't answer that question. I don't really know anything about Venezuela, so I can't say if I like it or not. I would love to visit, that's for sure. But I don't know anything else really about the country, except like the stuff you just hear on the internet, just basic stuff. But yeah, I don't know. Yes, sir. Can you say I love you? Scarlett, I love you back. You speak Portuguese too? Yeah, I also speak Portuguese. It's not perfect, but I try, you know. I can get my point across. You know what I'm saying? Yes, you are right. Oh, that's what's up. Cool. So I can confirm, thanks to my Ethiopian friend, anybody listening, it's true. People in Ethiopia typically eat with their hands and not with utensils. Very interesting. Which is probably what these things were made for, right? Our hands? To eat shit. Do you think that's the reason that babies naturally just want to put shit in their mouths? Because we have hands with opposable thumbs and that's what they were made for? They just know without somebody having to tell them. You take this thing connected to your wrist, you grab shit, and you put it in your mouth to see if it tastes good or not. I don't know. Who knows, bro? Can you imagine life without fucking thumbs, though? Imagine if this was your hand. No thumb, just hands. What are you going to do with these things? What the fuck are you going to do with your hand with no thumb, bro? What are you going to do? Except slap people. What can you do? I guess you could type, you know, but you couldn't hit the space bar as easily. Anyway, we're getting way off track here. Yes, we Ethiopians eat with our hands. Can you give your opinion about the golden ball? I'm going to be honest with you, bro. I don't even remember what that award is for. Is it the most goals in a season? I'm pretty sure, right? Or that's the golden boot. What's the golden ball? Hang on. Golden ball award. Somebody tell me what the golden ball. Ballon d'Or. Oh. So it is the best player in the world. You know what's crazy is I heard golden ball and I didn't think Ballon d'Or, which is literally the translation. But anyway, Ballon d'Or, Messi winning. I don't really have an opinion. I mean, he is one of the best players professionally to ever kick a football. So is he the best right now? That's debatable. That's debatable. I don't know. We have to, what the person I don't hear mentioned enough, if we're talking about the best attacking players for sure, is Mohamed Salah. We don't hear his name enough, or at least I don't. When you think about, and he's built very similar to Messi, right? He's a relatively short guy. I think he's maybe like 5'7", which in meters is like 1.7 or something like that. So he's relatively short, but he's got a very low center of gravity, incredible balance. He can change directions incredibly quickly, score with the left foot, the right foot, the head, understands the game very well. His positioning is good, and scores lots of goals. So I think you have to put him in the conversation. CR7 is automatically in the conversation. And then there's a couple other like runners up that are contenders for the top players. And we're only talking about attacking players, right? When's the last time we saw a player that wasn't an attacking-minded player win Ballon d'Or? Like, it's unfortunately in football, a lot of times being the best means scoring the most goals or doing the most tricks or stuff like that. But there's 11 players on every squad, and they all play different positions, right? So I think if we're going to give golden balls out to people, we have to go to all thirds of the pitch. Best attacker, best center, best defender. I think that's the way. It should be by position and not just all players. Because Messi is very different from Van Dijk, for example. But Van Dijk, historically, or at least recently, is one of the best defenders in the world. He's not getting any fucking awards for that. Right? So, I don't necessarily have an opinion. I mean, Messi obviously deserves the award, but it could have easily gone to a few other players, I think. Like most years. Right? It's never like a landslide, at least not in recent years. So, I don't know. That's what I think. What do y'all think? Is Messi deserving of the Ballon d'Or? What say you? Let me know. All right, let me get back to these comments. There's a bunch coming in. And I'm about to go, y'all. Been here for an hour 15. I got shit to do, you feel me? Got shit to do. Place to go, people to see, you feel me? So, about to wrap this up in a minute. You can... Golden Ball. Do you like camping? And what do you think about it? Or what do you think about IT? I don't know if you're asking me what do I think about camping or what do I think about IT, because IT is capitalized. But anyway, I'll answer the first half of your question. Do I like camping? I've never been camping for real. Like I remember when I was in 5th grade, I was probably like 10 years old. My school organized like this field trip to where all the 5th graders were going to go to camp, but it wasn't really camp. Like we all got in these buses and they took us out to the woods, but we stayed in like cabins on bunk beds, and that's not really camping. That's just like a hotel in the middle of the forest. You feel me? So it wasn't really camping, like for real, where you go out there by yourself with a tent, catch and cook your own food type of shit. I've never done that. Would I enjoy it? I think I could, depending on who I was with. Because to be honest with you, and also how long we're going to be out there. Like if it's, 3 or 4 days, cool, let's do it and see what happens. But somebody who's out there for like a month just surviving in the fucking forest, I'm like, nah, I'm good. I'm cool. So it depends on what you mean by camping. If you mean literally like pitching a tent and sleeping outside for the next, 14 to 30 days, the answer is no. I don't like how that sounds. I could do it, but it's not like my idea of a good time. You feel me? Like, I like being in nature for sure. I like being in the woods for sure. But for like some extended period of time, nah. But again, it depends on who you go with and where you go, because there's some beautiful spots out in Canada that I've only seen in photos and videos, but I would really love to go camping out there. But if we're talking fucking, the Mississippi swamps or some shit like that, I'm going to have to pass on that one. You know what I'm saying? So where and who with are very important factors. This is a very overcomplicated answer to your question. But in general, no, I don't like the idea of camping. In certain cases, absolutely, but I imagine most cases, nah. But I do like the idea of camping, going to a place where like there's no light pollution or anything like that. There's no lights from the city or from the road or nothing like that. And you can just lay out flat on the earth and look up at what the sky actually looks like. So you can really see all the stars and planets and things like that. That's cool. But you also don't need to go camping to do that, right? So, man, I've never really thought about that. Like, would I want to go camping? It's a good question. What about you? There's a reason you asked me that question. Why'd you ask me specifically about camping? Are you a camping fan or what? Now let me go back to where we are. Spanish speakers, I don't know where y'all are from, but why do y'all keep sending me this message that says pink cheese gringos? You think I don't know that you want me to say pinches gringos? Like, just ask me to say that. I'm not stupid. Come on, y'all. Like, it's not even funny. You know what I'm saying? It'd be different if it was funny, but it's not. Yes, we eat with our hands. That's what's up. Hello, you're very popular among my students. That's what's up. Even coffee discovered. I hope you are a fan of coffee. I don't know what you mean by that, but yeah, I do drink coffee. But you know what? I had my first cup of coffee when I was like 24, just a couple years ago. Like, I was one of those kids. I don't know why this is, but I was like a picky eater and drinker growing up. So it's like if it looked weird or had a weird smell, or just gave me a bad impression, I would try not to eat it or drink it. And coffee was one of those things. Like, when I thought of coffee when I was younger, all I thought was just bitter water. Like, why the fuck do people drink coffee? Because I had a small taste of coffee when I was younger, but I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know that you could add a little bit of sugar or some cream or milk or whatever, and that there's different types of coffee. Like, this cup of coffee could taste completely different from this one, but they're both coffee. So my first experience was trash, and I was like, shit is nasty. Why do people drink this? Just for the energy? I don't know. But then, around like 24, when I was studying programming or software engineering, I don't know the correct term for it, all my programmer friends drank a lot of coffee, I guess for like the caffeine and the focus. So I started drinking it, and I figured out like how much sugar I want in it. I don't like milk or cream in my coffee, so I figured out what I like, and now I drink it basically every day. So yeah. In your guys' opinion, who do you think has the best coffee? Brazil, Colombia, the US? I don't fucking know. Which countries are popular for producing coffee? Where does the best coffee come from? What do you guys think? See, if I'm assuming my friends, most Middle Eastern countries, most of Middle Eastern countries eat with their hands. That's what's up. I did not know that. Like, here in the U.S., I obviously don't speak for all 300 million Americans, but I would say if the food isn't known as a food that's meant to be eaten with the hands, like a cheeseburger or a piece of pizza, it's kind of weird if somebody's eating with their hands instead of utensils. I shouldn't say weird. That's not the correct choice of word, but like, if we're eating, chicken breast, perfect example. If we're eating chicken breast and rice for dinner and you're using your hands to break apart the chicken and put it in your mouth, like, that's just not something, in my experience, that's not something that most Americans do. Like, you would take the fork and the knife and cut it into pieces and use the fork to put the food in your mouth, right? In my experience, that's what most of us would do, So, why? I don't know. Is it like fancier or something? I would like to research that. Maybe one of you know that's watching this or listening right now, that what's the reason that some countries use utensils and other countries don't. They prefer to use their hands. What's the reason for that? Because I don't know. Hang on. Even coffee discovered by Ethiopia. Do you know that? No. Whoever this is, B-Boy Blackie, says that even coffee was discovered by Ethiopia. I don't know if that's true. Somebody's going to have to confirm that one for me. But that's cool if it's true. For me, Benzema deserved the golden ball. I don't know about that. I mean, he's good, but he's not that good, right? Right? Haven't you heard about what Lewandowski did? Exactly. Like, when he said Benzema, that was the first person that came to my mind was Lewandowski. I mean, when you talk about pure number nines that are as consistent and prolific as Lewandowski, you can't really name that many. At least not that many that are playing like today. Like a true number nine. I can't even really think of one. Haaland, maybe, right? Who is just a fucking monster. I mean, that kid is a beast, right? When you think about like the best number nines, I wouldn't put Benzema on my list. Like top 3, no. 5, no. 10, maybe, but I would have to think about it. Were you on vacation? You haven't done any videos recently. No, I wasn't on vacation. I was still working, just didn't have time to make videos. Debatable. New world, yeah. Salah, just lack of marketing. I don't know if that's true. Maybe you're right. I never thought about that. I never thought about it from that way. Maybe Salah doesn't get the credit he deserves due to a lack of marketing, but I don't know, man. He plays on the biggest stage in the world. So anybody who knows who Messi is or Ronaldo or somebody like that, I imagine knows who Salah is as well. You know? I would imagine. Liverpool is one of the most famous teams on the planet. They play in Champions League. They play well in Champions League. He scores lots of goals for them in Champions League. So, I don't know. You might be right, but I never thought about it. I don't know. What's your favorite part of the USA that I should visit? That's a good question. What's my favorite? Well, that's really two different things. My favorite place in the US, San Diego, for sure. Yeah. I would have to say San Diego because it's just like my type of city, man. It's not too big, but it's also not extremely small. It's like a smaller, cleaner, less dangerous version of LA. I don't know. Like they're different cities, but you can't compare them. But anyway, San Diego, it's like it's got beautiful beaches, great weather, good weed, good food, good people. It's got traffic, but not like LA. It's got crime and violence, but not like LA. Right next door to Mexico, like you can literally, I could drive from my old place. It would take me 20 minutes to get to Mexico by car. 20 minutes, bro. You could go down to Mexico if you want. It's just a great place to be. Extremely expensive, overpriced, I might argue, but a great place to be. It's so beautiful. Great people down there. Amazing food. Like I'm being redundant at this point, but yeah. It's a soccer city as well. It was always a place to play soccer, always people to play with, but also basketball, football. Lots of swimmers down there. I mean, you can go surfing, you can go to a skate park, play. Like, there's something for everybody, I think. A little something for everybody. Music festivals, like, you can drive to LA in less than 2 hours. You know what I'm saying? It's a great place to be for so many reasons, but it depends on what type of place you like. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I say it's my favorite place, but not necessarily the place you should visit. Now, if we're talking about places you should visit, again, like I said, it depends on what you like. Because if you're more into like the bigger, chaotic cities, obviously New York is at the top of the list. Atlanta, you know, I like Atlanta, but it wouldn't be my first choice. It wouldn't be my first recommendation. LA as well, but you got to be careful in LA because, you know, LA is a really, really, really big city, and certain areas are very different from others in that city. Like every city, I guess. But anyway, you can go to LA, New York. If you like big cities, maybe Miami. I don't know it enough to recommend it. Houston, I love Houston, is another great city. As far as big cities, I guess those are ones I could recommend that I know something about or I've been there. But I also always recommend New Orleans, Louisiana. I feel like that city is super underrated. Got amazing food. Most of the people I interacted with are super cool. It's just a different energy, a different vibe down there, man. People are happier, like more mellow, more respectful. Like I said before, the food is fucking amazing. Live jazz music every night. Yeah, I had nothing but good times when I was in New Orleans. I can't wait to go back. So if you like live music, especially jazz, you cannot pick a better city than New Orleans, you know? If you like the beaches, obviously Southern California is where you want to be. If you like nature, you can go all over this country. Colorado, Wyoming, Montana, got some beautiful places. Georgia. If you like green places, come to the Southeast because it's nothing but green. Florida, Georgia, North and South Carolina, Tennessee, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama. Very, very, very green. If you prefer the mountains, Wyoming, Montana, Colorado, places like that. If you want the beaches, West Coast for sure. If you want to see snow, anywhere along the northern border, you know, like Minnesota all the way over to New York and Maine, you'll get snow. So You didn't ask me all of this. I'm just thinking and trying to, like, anybody listening, just so you can get an idea, depending on what you like, you know, you might want to go to a different place. So there you go. Oh shit. Hang on. Hey Kaizen, did you study at university? I mean, some career. Yes and no. Good question. So I did 2 years at a community college, which is not the same thing as a university. It's very similar, but it's not the same thing, because here we have colleges and universities, and I don't have like the textbook difference between them in front of me. But the way I understand college and university is, typically at a college, it's seen as, I don't know if it is, but it's seen as a lower standard of education. It's not as prestigious. Like if you tell somebody I graduated from San Diego Community College, they're not going to respect or admire that as much as you saying I graduated from Harvard Law School or Yale or fucking MIT or something like that. Those are universities. They're more prestigious. Their names carry more weight, you know? So, and at a college, typically, like, you can get a bachelor's degree from a college, but again, it's not as prestigious. And a lot of times, what people will do is the first 2 years at a college, because here in the U.S., at least in my experience, you have a 4 years bachelor degree. That's the first degree you typically get after you graduate from high school and go off to college. So your bachelor's degree is 4 years, but the first 2 years, you're not studying your discipline. So like, I wanted to study psychology, for example, but the first 2 years of my program, I'm not studying psychology. I'm doing math, science, history, and literature, just at a higher level at college. Just general education classes, and I'm getting credits for the first 2 years. Then the second 2 years, I'm focusing much more on my major or my discipline, or what many of you might refer to as your career, which is something different in English. It's not your career, it's your major, what you studied at school. So I did my first 2 years with the plan to transfer to a university and then decide what I was going to study. But the problem was, I didn't want to go to college at all. Like after high school, in my mind, I had 3 choices. Either join the military, I wasn't doing that shit, work at McDonald's, didn't want to do that shit, or go to school and then figure out some kind of way to find a career or a job that I actually wanted to do and then go from there. That was the whole thinking at that time. So it was like the best of a bad situation. I chose to go to school because then it's like, at least I got 4 more years to think about what I actually want to do and how I'm going to like support myself, right? So I did the first 2 years in San Diego, one of the most expensive cities in the country. And everything was just like too expensive. The rent, the school, like everything that had to be paid for just for me to live there on top of the cost of school. After 2 years, I was just like, I was talking to my dad, like, I just don't want to be here. Like, we're wasting all this money and time. I'm studying in one of the most expensive state in the country. I'm here doing something I don't even want to do, and you're just wasting all this money. Because I wanted to study psychology, but once I found out that you had to study like 4, 6, 8, 10 years to become a doctor and have your own private practice, I was like, I'm not staying in school for no fucking 8 years, man. You got me fucked up. No, I hated school. Fucking hated school. I still hate school. With a deep, burning passion, I fucking hate school because of the way they do things and their values and shit like that. Fuck public school. Fuck university too. That's how I feel. So that was a long answer to your question. I went to school, I went to college, but I dropped out after 2 years. Not the place for me. So there you go. Are you American? Yes, sir. You in my For You again. That's what's up. I'm popping on the For You page. That's cool. Will you be watching Spider-Man No Way Home? Or you're not a fan? No, I'm not a fan of Spider-Man, bro. I'm not a fan of any of those like superhero movies. Spider-Man, Superman, Batman, Aquaman, Wonder Woman. Like, it's not that I don't like it. I'm just not a fan of it. Like, if I have to choose between that type of stuff and something else, I'm probably going to choose something else every time. The only thing worse than that is like modern romance movies. They just fucking suck. I was talking to a girl about this the other day. Like she was asking me, why don't you like romance? What's wrong with romance movies? And there's nothing wrong with romance in and of itself. I'm a romantic person, you know what I'm saying? But like most romance movies, the modern ones today, the last 10 to 15 years, fucking trash, man. Just trash. Like so corny and cheesy and dramatic and exaggerated. Like real love, real romance is not dramatic. It's not corny. It's not forced or anything like that. And that's what most romance movies are these days. It's just corny, dramatic, forced, like reaching too far, trying too hard, just cheesy, gooey, overflowing with bullshit type of movies. And there's no real romance. Like real romance is not what you see in modern romance movies. So that's why I don't watch romance. But anyway, getting back to your question, I don't really watch the superhero movies. That was never really my thing. I was never a big fan of that. Like I like Batman. What was the Batman with Christian Bale? The series he did, Dark Knight. That whole little series with him, that shit was dope. Because I'm a big Christian Bale fan. I think he played the role really well. But other than that, I won't be watching the new Spider-Man. I think, to be honest, Spider-Man's ability is cool. But I think he would get his ass beat by a lot of different superheroes. Like Superman would fuck Spider-Man up any day of the week, bro. Any day of the week. I think Batman would fuck up Spider-Man too. I don't know. What do you guys think? I think the Hulk would fuck up Spider-Man. I think Aquaman would fuck up Spider-Man as well. I'm trying to think of others. See, I don't even know a bunch of other superheroes. I'm just, Spider-Man is fucking weak, bro. No disrespect to the Spider-Man fans, but he's fucking weak, man. All he's got is that little spider thread. Without that shit, he'll get his ass beat, bro. He's weak. He's weak. You know? Well, what's the name of the dude? What's the black version of Spider-Man? With the all black suit? Somebody tell, is it Venom? Is that his name? He would fuck Spider-Man up. Spider-Man's fucking weak. Lacri bilingue. What is lacri? Lacri bilingue. What does that mean? What do you think about the movie Eternals? Is it good or bad? I don't know because I've never seen it. So I don't even know what it's about. I don't know who's in the movie or anything like that. So, El mejor café es Italia. The best coffee is Italian, apparently. You know, I just got done watching this documentary about the company Starbucks and how it got started and how basically it grew into this $1 billion worldwide empire. And the reason that you see a Starbucks literally every fucking where you go, any developed city, at least in the US, you're going to find a Starbucks. But also around the world, there's fucking Starbucks and McDonald's all over the world. Anyway, the reason I said that is I just got done watching a documentary about them, and apparently, not the founder, but the first big CEO that had a major impact on the company, it was his idea to turn Starbucks into what it is today after he visited an Italian coffee shop, and it was about not just the coffee itself, which was good, but he noticed that in Italy at the time, I can't remember what year this was though, so I'm not going to say, but at the time, what made the Italian experience different is that they focused on the experience of going into a coffee shop, buying coffee, sitting down, talking to people and stuff like that. Whereas in the US at the time, most people were drinking like the 60-second coffee that you make in the microwave or run into like Dunkin' Donuts and grabbing a quick coffee or something like that. He wanted to create the coffee shop experience where you go in, you buy a cup, you sit down, you might read, you might be blogging, you might be talking and have a conversation or something like that. That was his inspiration, and that's what he tried to create, which is why Starbucks look and operate the way they do today. Anyway, go check it out. If you search Magnates Media on YouTube, MAGNATES Media, Magnates Media. I'm fucking terrible at spelling, by the way. But Magnates Media, search for that on YouTube. He's got a bunch of great documentaries, man, about different businesses and apps and things like that. It's really, really, really good stuff. I highly recommend you check it out. But anyway, getting back to these comments and questions. Apparently the best coffee comes from Italy, but I got another friend here saying it comes from Puerto Rico. I also hear people saying coffee Santo Domingo tastes this. I don't know what that means. But I also hear a lot that Colombians got the best coffee. Brazilian people tell me they got the best coffee. I don't know. I'm not a coffee connoisseur. If we were going to talk about like weed, for example, I could have that conversation. But I'm not really, like, all I know about coffee is if it tastes good or not. Like, I can't tell you who has the best. But if you hand me a cup of coffee, I can tell you it tastes good or it doesn't. It needs sugar or it doesn't. That's about it. So I'm the wrong person to talk about coffee with. But if you want to talk about like marijuana, we could talk about that. And I'm not an expert in that field either, but I have much more experience with the weed than the coffee. Alcohol as well. I've never been much of a drinker. Like, I can drink, but I've never been much of a drinker. What about you? You prefer to smoke? Prefer to drink, or neither? What's your vice? What's that thing that you do to numb the pain or enjoy your time more, or to zone out, or to get fucked up, to avoid your problems, just to feel good on a Friday afternoon? What's your vice? What's that thing you do? Is it comfort food? Is it a series on Netflix? Is it alcohol? Is it weed? Is it, I don't fucking know. Is it work? Because some people are addicted to working, right? That's their vice. Is it your relationship? What is your vice? What's that thing that keeps you going, that possibly isn't the best thing for you, but you keep doing it because, you know, it makes you feel good? All right. While you think about that and the answers start to come in, I'm going to keep reading these comments. Everybody knows that the best coffee is in Colombia. Well, I don't know that. I can't confirm that. My friend right here is saying Mexico. Have you ever been to the Dominican Republic? No, I have not. I hope I can go one day, but I've never been there. What position do you play in soccer? Typically center mid. I like to play number 8, sometimes number 6, sometimes number 10, but typically 8. You know, that's just, I think, the position that comes most naturally. Like, I'm one of those people that believes football is a passing game. And I like to be involved in all aspects of the game. I like to touch the ball a lot. I like to attack and defend. I love passing. I appreciate beautiful passes more than beautiful goals, to be honest with you. Like, I'm much more of a fan of Xavi and Iniesta than I am of like Messi and Neymar. You know? Nothing better than a solid midfielder. So that's where I like to play. But Haaland is so young still. I agree. I think Haaland, even right now, is a beast. He's a fucking animal, bro. And I just think over time he's only going to get better. I also don't think he's going to stay at Dortmund. But yeah, the kid's a fucking beast, man. So with the right guidance and just natural time and consistency, I really think he's going to be a force. He already is a force to be reckoned with, but I really think we haven't seen him in his prime. I think we're still some years off of that. But you never know. Isn't that the interesting thing about professional sports in general? It's just you never know what's going to happen with these players, man. What I'm more interested in, I think, is like what goes on behind the scenes at these clubs. Like the business aspect of football, or what it's like to be a footballer. Because we think about footballers as like Saturday morning, Sunday morning, there's a game and we see these players, and that's how we are exposed to these players. But there's 6 other days in the week that they're still them. And at the end of the day, this is their job. So they're being paid to train, stay physically fit. A lot of them have interviews and photo shoots. A lot of them are in fucking video games. They have families, girlfriends, boyfriends, wives, other hobbies and shit that they do. You know? Then there's the managers and the coaching staff and the owners and the board of directors and all this stuff that happens 6-7 days a week. And all we think about a lot of times is just the game. You know? I don't know. I said I was going to go like 30 minutes ago, bro. Let me see. Let me read through these comments one more time. Why never a goalkeeper win the golden ball? That's a great question. Another member of the team that doesn't get enough credit is the goalkeeper. But it's all about scoring goals, right? I mean, in every sport that includes a ball, we want to see the person either get the ball in the hoop or in the net. And the person who does that the best or the most is typically the person that is referred to as the best in the league. You know? But we rarely talk about goalkeepers. It's very true. Like the Gea. What's the German dude's name that was really well known for a few years? Manuel Neuer. Another great one. There's a few. Thibaut Courtois. There's what's his name? Mendy that plays for Chelsea. He's also playing really well right now. It's true, man. A lot of goalkeepers don't get the credit they deserve. And it's one of those, it's like a thankless job, really, because, of course, we all appreciate a good save. We clap and say, fuck yeah, good for you. We appreciate that. But the only time that you really even notice the goalkeeper is when he's not doing his job or her job. You know, when they're badly positioned or they let in a goal that they were for sure supposed to stop, whatever it is, that's when we're like, oh, we need a new fucking goalkeeper. They score 4 goals every week. We need a new goalkeeper. You know, and it's one of those vulnerable positions because it's not just you, it's the 4 people in front of you that have to protect you. So when they're fucking up, now you're doing 4 or 5 people's jobs as a goalkeeper. Yeah. It's so weird to me, and I know that there's a lot of levels and it's complicated, but it's so weird that even today, a lot of teams, players, coaches don't understand that football is a team sport. You know, all the best teams play like a team. Like a well-oiled machine. People know their positions, their jobs, you know. They know their teammates and what to expect from each other. And they move the ball as a team. They defend as a team. They transition as a team. The teams that struggle are the ones that, for whatever reason, just can't do this. Obviously, it's not that simple, but, you know. Anyway, start a podcast. I'm recording a podcast right now, actually. You're just watching this live on TikTok, but you can go to YouTube and search for the Life in English podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts. You can find the link in my profile, click it there, and you can find my podcast. But yeah, we're right now, my friend, recording the Life in English podcast, episode number 119. The title will be Talking About Nothing, number 3. So go check it out, man. Let me know what you think. The USA has a lot of borders. We have 2, actually. So I don't know what you mean by that, but Canada up top, Mexico down bottom. I don't know what you meant by that. Maybe internally, like a lot of states. I don't know what you mean by the USA has a lot of borders. So Cuban coffee is the best. You know, I don't think I'll ever confirm that. I don't know if I'll ever try coffee in every country. I'm sure there's somebody out there that's their mission, though, right? It's like, I just have to try all the coffees in the world before I die, just so I can say for sure which one is the best. Like, the world needs to know, and I'm going to be the guy that lets them know. There's got to be somebody out there like that, right? What's up from Cali, Colombia? Shout out to my Colombian friends. Shout out to Venezuela. I want to visit Las Vegas in the USA. My question to you would be why? And I'm not saying that's a bad idea. I don't know anything about Vegas. I've never been there. Only the generic stuff like all the casinos. But from what I understand, that's the only thing to do or visit in Vegas is the Strip. And go to the casinos and the clubs and stuff like that. Or maybe like do some desert shit where you're out there riding dirt bikes and ATVs and that type of stuff. But what the fuck else is in Las Vegas? You know what I'm saying? So why do you want to visit Vegas? Is my question. Have you ever eaten alligator? No, I have not. I would, though. I don't see any problem eating alligator. I know in some places like Florida, for example, it would not be weird to see somebody eating alligator. There's a bunch of alligators down there. Some people actually eat it like it's normal. But no, I've never tried it. I mean, I guess if you put the right seasoning on it, it'll probably be just as good as chicken. Everything with the right seasoning tastes like chicken, right? So I'm sure it's good. Just harder to get to the meat. Like, how the fuck do you even remove alligator? It's not even skin. They're like scales, fucking plates of armor. What penetrates alligator scales? You know, those things are like fucking tanks. Bro, what's the best advice you ever heard? That's the best question somebody has ever asked me on one of these lives. The best advice I've ever heard in my life. Hmm. Yeah, that's really tough. The best advice I've ever heard in my life. I don't know. I would have to think about it to give you my actual answer. But one of the things that comes to mind is accept what you can't control. Like, it brings, and since I've started doing that, it's brought so much more peace into my life. Just like accepting that certain things cannot be controlled, and therefore there's no reason to worry about it or stress about it, or or trip about it. There's just, if you can't do anything about it, then why are you investing emotional energy or mental energy into it? There's nothing you can do physically or mentally to change that situation or that person or that thing. So why worry about it? Just let it go. And you can apply that to every situation, whether it's people, your job, like money, the way you feel, the way you look. If you can't control it, first of all, if you can control it, if you have control over it, you have no reason to be crying or stressed or tripping or worried about it. Just do what you need to do to make the change that you want to make. And if you cannot control it, if you have no influence over it whatsoever, you can't change it, so fucking let it go. I don't know if that's the best advice I ever received, but it's so simple, it's so practical. If you start to put it into practice, I can almost guarantee, man, you just know that you'll wake up one day and just be like, God damn, I have so much more energy. I'm not like stressed about things like I used to be. Just don't care. Like, sometimes it's good not to care. That's a good thing, right? So I don't know what the best advice I've ever heard. That's a really, really, really good question. I would have to think about it. But yeah, I guess something simple that came to mind was like, accept and let go of what you can't control. Yeah. Great question. All right, let me see what else we got. What is the best university in the USA? That's a trick question. They're all fucking trash. It depends on what you mean by the best. Do you mean the best quality of education? Do you mean the best atmosphere? Do you mean the best price? Do you mean the best psychology program or the best economics program? What do you mean by the best university? Because I could answer that many different ways. And I don't really know enough to give you the right answer because I'm not like really educated in the different qualities of universities either. I can tell you like the most prestigious, the most expensive, but that's really it. So I don't know what you mean when you ask what's the best university. Like, how do you qualify a good or a bad school, you know? How expensive is it to live in the USA, really? That is a good question. Because a lot of people seem to have this like imaginary idea that this is just the best place to be. And don't get me wrong, like, America's a great place to be. The United States of America, like, you know what I mean when I say America, this country is a great place to be. But it is very expensive, bro. So it depends on what city, what region, what state, all of that really has a big influence on how much money you're going to pay to survive in the U.S. But just to give you some examples, I talked to a guy personally 3 or 4 years ago, And the only reason I say that is because things tend to get more expensive over time. So this was 3 or 4 years ago when things were cheaper. This Brazilian guy, he was learning English. He moved from Brazil to San Francisco, California. He had no money, no friends, no family there. I think it was him and his girlfriend, if I'm not mistaken. Moved to San Francisco, California, like the top 3 most expensive cities in the country. Why? I don't know. And he told me that at that time, 3 or 4 years ago, he was paying $1,500. No, excuse me, $2,000 every month just for the rent in a 1-bedroom apartment. $2,000 US every month just for a 1-bedroom apartment in San Francisco. Now that's an extreme example because not all cities are that expensive. Like where I live, for example, right now you could probably find an apartment, a decent 1-bedroom apartment for $900 to $1,100. And I live in a small city right outside of Atlanta. You know, some cities you might be able to find something for $700, $800, and I'm just talking about 1-bedroom apartments. Obviously, the price will change depending on what you're looking for. You could probably rent a house that's 2 or 3 bedrooms for $1,500, $1,700, $2,000 in the south of the United States. Up north or out west, probably completely different. So it's hard for me to tell you how much it actually costs to live here because it changes depending on the region, and it's a huge country. And it depends on like your standard of living. Like if you, for example, say I will not accept anything less than a 2-bedroom apartment, or I can't because I have 4 kids and a husband and a dog, that changes how much it's going to cost for you to live here, obviously. Gas is relatively cheap when you compare it to other countries. And we don't go by the liter like in many countries. We go by the gallon. And where I live right now, gas is like $3.11 per gallon. You can try to do that conversion for your country, but that's what it is right now in the South. Food is relatively cheap at the grocery stores. Healthy food, like fruits and vegetables, really cheap in the U.S. Meat is relatively cheap. All the unhealthy stuff is cheap. Like fast food is relatively cheap. I'm trying to think. Candy is extremely cheap. Water is extremely cheap. So like food isn't crazy expensive. More expensive than like Brazil and Mexico, in my experience, but it's still not. It's not the most expensive thing here. Insurance is crazy expensive. Most of us don't have health care, which means anything medical related, you're fucked unless you got some money, you know. So or health insurance, obviously. Dental is the same way. It's crazy expensive. Crazy expensive. So, you know, I don't really know how to answer your question. I'm just talking and thinking at the same time, hoping that I'm helping you in some way, but I don't really know how much it actually costs to live here because it's very different for everybody. And it depends on what you actually need to survive. So, but to summarize, it's fucking expensive to live in the US. It's definitely expensive. So, there you go. To learn English, do I have... How old are you? 26. I'll be 27 next month. Mas você é do Brasil, né? No, I'm not from Brazil. I'm from the USA. Born and raised. Our teacher is saying to us that he hates school. Yeah, man. Fuck school, bro. I didn't say fuck education. I said fuck school. Because traditional school is like so painfully outdated on purpose. On purpose, in my opinion. It's so painfully outdated. The way they do things is fucking stupid. It is not an environment that encourages what I think learning and education is about. It's not an environment that encourages being open-minded, challenging like the norm or standards, thinking critically, healthy debate, studying things you're actually interested in, studying shit that you actually need to know to survive after you leave this place. public school doesn't really focus on or teach any of that shit. And yet they still expect you to be there from 8 a.m. to fucking 3 p.m., at least in the U.S. I don't know how you do it in your country. But when I was in school, every day, for 13 years, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. That's 7 out of 24 hours. Like, almost a third of your day, which just means almost a third of your life from Monday to Friday. You're sitting in a fucking classroom listening to somebody trying to convince you that you need to know what year fucking Abraham Lincoln died. Fuck school. I love education. It's incredibly important. I love teaching. It's a lot of fun. But fuck school, man. Until they make some serious changes up there, I cannot say they have my support. That's what I'm trying to say. That's what I'm trying to say. Bro, to learn English. How do you know Portuguese? Are you from Brazil? Nah, I'm from the U.S. and I know Portuguese because I have a good friend from Brazil that I met at college, ironically. And he invited me to Brazil, like just to come visit one day, and said, if you want to have a good time down here, you have to learn Portuguese first because most of us don't speak a single word of English. And like, you know, you want to be able to communicate and stuff like that, obviously. So I said, okay, I guess I'm learning Portuguese. So then I just started learning. There's a longer story about everything that happened after that, obviously, but that's the reason I started learning Portuguese. Yo from Russia. Shout out to my Russian friends. Honduras as well. Shout out to all of y'all. Guatemala. Shout out to y'all too. I like learning man, bro. How to think. All right, another question. How do I think in English? There's been a lot of videos and podcast episodes made about this subject. I don't know if I've ever given my opinion. I probably have, because I always say the same shit. It's very simple. I think the way you learn to think in English is by thinking in English. Like, that's it. And what I mean, let me not be an asshole. What I mean when I say that is, I think writing probably is the best way to learn how to think in English. Now, I have made a podcast episode about that. I don't remember what number it is, but if you go to lifeinenglish.net/episodes, it's somewhere in there. You'll find it. The title, I think, is called How Writing Can Make You a Better Speaker. And the basic idea that I'm going to condense and give to you right now is that there's very, very little difference between writing and thinking. The only difference is that when you're writing, you have more time to organize your thoughts before you record them. That's it. But in order to write something on the paper, you have to think it with your brain first, right? You can't write without thinking about what you're, I mean, I guess you could, but you couldn't write a sentence, a clear and logical sentence, without thinking about it first. So if you're writing in English, you're thinking in English. And the benefit, again, of writing is that you have as much time as you want or as you need. You can open up a Google document, which is free. You clearly have access to the internet because you're listening to or watching this right now. So it's fucking free. You can open Google Docs, pick a subject. What did I do today? And start writing about what you did today. Which means you're literally thinking about what you did today and you're doing it in English. And then what's going to happen when you start doing that is eventually you're going to get to a word or a phrase or an expression or an idea that you do not know how to express. Fuck, what do I do now? Then you go to Google Translate and you translate the word or the phrase or the expression. And then you keep going. Or you call up your friend, your language exchange partner, or your teacher if you have one. If you don't have one, you should get one. And you ask them, how do I say this? How do I say that? Does this sound natural? Is there another way to say that? Is this formal or informal? That's when you start to do those things. But then you always come back to the writing, which is the same thing as thinking. If you're just doing it every day, again, all the solutions that I have to all your problems, the problem is it takes time. So you just got to be patient and consistent. But that's literally it. So by writing every day, training your brain to produce thoughts in English, because that's all you're doing, is producing thoughts and then writing them down. It's like going to the gym every day. You're lifting the same weight. As long as you keep eating and going to the gym, drinking water, resting when necessary, you're going to get bigger muscles. It's the same thing with learning how to do everything else. So if you want to learn how to think in English, go to the mental gym and just think every day, produce thoughts every day. Writing is the easiest way to do that because the piece of paper is not waiting for you to respond or be interesting or be perfect like you think a human being is doing. The piece of paper is just like, fucking write something on me, bro. Take your time. Take as long as you want. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to judge you. So if you want to learn how to think in English, learn how to write in English because writing is the same thing as thinking. And there's less pressure. And if you're doing it online, then you have Google Translate. So, and just do that consistently over months or years. And you just wake up one day and you realize, like, shit, I'm not even trying. You just start producing these thoughts in the foreign language without even trying because you've just been doing it so long. Just like your native language, bro. That's like the same thing. The same thing. With your native language, you just have these thoughts. Sometimes you're not even trying. These thoughts just enter your mind in a language that's familiar to you because you've been producing thoughts in that language for so long. You just do it. You just do it. Like everything else. Like once you learn how to drive a car, after a few years, you just get in the car, turn the key, start the car, and you just go. You don't think like, what do I do with this hand? And where do I put this foot? You don't think like that because you've done it so many times. You've driven a car every single day. It's second nature. So literally any skill that you want to learn, that's how you do it. Just do it every day over a long period of time. Obviously, trying to get better. Don't practice bad shit or incorrect shit. But that's it, man. That's it. Patience, persistence, repetition, like that's it. What do you think about Russian people? I don't have an opinion about all Russian people. I think there's like a couple 100 million of them, right? So I don't really know if I can make a statement about Russian people. But I will say that in my experience, I've never met a Russian person I didn't like. That's for sure. Yeah, all the Russian people I've met personally were cool as fuck. Very genuine and straightforward people. And that's something I really appreciate. You know? Like, not, again, just the people I had an experience with were not like fake toward me in any way and also would just tell me what they were thinking or feeling. And that's like not so common in many other cultures, right? But that's something I appreciate. I think Russian people are really misunderstood. You know, a lot of people think of Russians as like cold and they have bad attitudes, that they're super reserved or scary people or whatever it is. But my experience has not been that at all. You know? So I think Russian people are misunderstood. And again, it's just a difference of culture. I think a lot of times when you travel enough or you meet enough people from enough places, you realize like, yeah, Russians and Americans are different, but Americans and Americans are different. Russians and Russians are different. So anyway, you didn't really ask me all of that, but that's what I think. That's what I think. Saludos desde Honduras. Shout out to Honduras. Red wine for sure. I'm guessing that's your vice that I asked about earlier. And to be honest, like I'm not even a big fan of the red wine. I prefer either white wine or like Moscato or something like that. I could drink that all day. I'm not really a big fan of the red wine. And one of my aunties, you know, she's a big wine drinker. I don't know if she's a connoisseur, but she's into like the different flavors and the whites and the reds. And you're supposed to drink this type of wine with this type of food and all that. She's like really into it. And she told me that she can tell a lot about a person by the wine that they choose. Like when I told her I don't like red wine, she assumed, and she accurately assumed, that my personality type was much more like black and white, and I prefer straight lines to curvy lines. I prefer squares to circles, and I'm speaking literally and metaphorically when I say that. It's like she's basically saying I could tell that you see things a lot of times in a black and white way, and things have to be in order, and like you're very. This is one of those times where like I know the word in the foreign language. I want to say cuadrado. I don't know how to say it in English. It's like very not necessarily rigid, but think in terms of like boxes and rectangles, and not necessarily in flowing circles and squares or curves. Anyway, what do you guys think? Can you tell something about a person by the wine that they choose? Because I can't. I don't really. I can tell something about a person by the weed that they choose, you know? Or like if you're watching somebody play soccer or basketball. I don't know about other sports, but I know when I'm watching basketball or soccer, you can tell something about a person's personality when they play, you know? Because again, playing sports is just another form of self-expression, right? So when you see somebody express themselves physically and not verbally, or like dancers, for example, you know, you can tell something about them by the way they play or by the way they dance. But by wine, I don't know. Anyway. Bro, you are also Hispanic, aren't you? No, I'm not. As far as I know, we don't have any Hispanic blood in our family. As far as I know, I'm 100% black. You know, my ancestors are from somewhere in Africa, obviously, but I don't know where. And I don't know a single person in my family that has any Hispanic or Latin relatives or spouses or anything like that. I don't know of anybody in my family that speaks more than one language. So, as far as I know, no Hispanic blood over here. There could be, but I don't know. All right, I think I got all of the questions here. No, I didn't. Damn, there's a whole bunch. All right, I'm gonna run through these last questions and then I'm gonna go, because I said I was gonna go like an hour ago. Mom, all right, hang on. What's poppin', Greg 13? What's happening? Oh, damn, these are old comments. Hang on. Bro, what time is it there? Here in the Philippines, it's 5 a.m. Here in Atlanta, Georgia, it's 4:36 p.m. What's today? Friday, December 3rd, 2021. Fucking crazy that I'm even saying that. It's fucking December 3rd. Hey, teacher, I'm a newcomer. What's up? What's up? I can't pronounce your name, but what's up, bro? Welcome to Your Life in English, where you learn the English that you won't learn in school. Fuck school. Bro, what do you think? What do you think about cryptocurrency? I don't know what I think about cryptocurrency. I think that it's definitely the future of the way the world does things in terms of money. I don't think it's like a fad or a trend that's going to disappear anytime soon. I do think it's the future of currency, but I don't really understand it enough to have a real opinion on what it is or how exactly it works or why it works. Blockchain and all these things. Like, I've watched a couple of videos here and there, and I've been telling myself for weeks now I need to just like take a weekend and go deep into the subject, but I just haven't. So I don't know. It seems like every other new thing, whereas like in the beginning it gets a lot of attention and everybody's talking about it, it's not really understood. Then you got these fake gurus coming in trying to make money off of it. You got people creating their own currencies. It's just like the Wild West at the moment, where nothing's regulated. Nobody, or most people, don't truly understand it. Everybody's talking about it. And I think there's always that spike in the beginning where it's just fucking chaos. It was the same thing with social media. And then over time, it kind of figures itself out. And we all have this basic common understanding of what it does, what its purpose is, how to use it. I think it's like that with everything. Everything new or revolutionary or just different. I don't think we've completely figured it out yet. And this is coming from somebody who really doesn't know shit about it. So I'm the wrong person to ask. What up? I'm learning English. DANALYACC. I don't know how to pronounce that, but I love you back. Much love to you. I appreciate that. Africa, the love. I don't know what that means, but much love to all my African brothers and sisters in all countries. I really want to go to Ethiopia one day. Eritrea as well. I really do. Mozambique as well. That's another country I want to visit. Hang on, y'all. I'm trying to scroll through some of these comments. Why do I see the same comment like 30 times? Hang on. Have you ever been in love? Yeah, I have, actually. Estados Unidos. You should come to Algeria. I don't know anything about Algeria. I'd definitely be down to go. You guys speak French, right? In Algeria? I don't really know anything about the country. But I'd like to go. That's for sure. Bro, where are you from? San Diego, California. Kinda. Greg13 already got me. Already answered the question. I appreciate that, bro. I feel like I've answered that question 50 times. All right. We speak Arabic and some French. We have our own variety. Okay, that's what's up. Cool. Well, all right, y'all. Send in your final questions, comments, observations, thoughts, complaints, whatever it might be. Send them in while you can, because I'm about to go. I really did not plan to record for 2 hours and 15 minutes. I really didn't. I don't even know what I'm going to do with this fucking episode. Imagine transcribing a 2-hour episode. Fuck. Didn't think about that one, did you, Kaizen? Oh, no, of course not. No, I didn't think about that. I'm a ready, fire, aim type of guy. I don't know if you know about this concept, but imagine in the military where everyone has weapons. You got an assault rifle, and we're at fucking target practice, and the instructor will say, ready? So you get your gun ready. Then he says, aim, which means point your gun at the target you want to hit, and then he says, fire, which is when you squeeze the trigger, pow, and you shoot the gun. So ready, aim, fire, pow. But me, I'm a ready, fire, aim kind of guy. It's ready, and then bam, and then we aim, I shoot first, ask questions later. Yeah. I feel like you get more done that way. Make more mistakes, but you learn more as well, right? You don't learn from thinking, you learn from doing. Sometimes you just got to fucking do it and see what happens. In life in general, but also in English, trying to make this relevant to you. Maybe you do have opportunities to practice your English like we were talking about earlier in this actual episode. And you're just too afraid to take advantage of the opportunities. Sometimes you just gotta fucking go for it. Worry about the consequences when they come. Cross the bridges when you get to them, not before. All right, that's another English idiom for you. A lot of times in English, when we're worried about something that might happen in the future, we get all stressed and anxious, even though it's in the future. It's not real. It doesn't exist yet. It's just this imaginary idea that we believe is going to happen at some point. And a lot of times you can say, I'm going to cross that bridge when I get to it. And what that means is I will worry about that problem when the time is right. Because if the problem isn't affecting my present life, if it's something that hasn't even happened yet, it's only possible that it happens in the future, there's no reason for me to worry about it or do anything about it. Right? So if the bridge is 5 miles down the road, I can't cross it right now, so why am I thinking about the bridge? I'll cross that bridge when I get to it or when I arrive at the bridge. Then it's time to think about how we're going to cross this bridge or how we're going to deal with this problem. So I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. If you didn't know, now you know. All right, let me take a last look at these questions. You here, so calm. Greetings from Chile. I speak Spanish. Shout out to you, Camila, I think is your name. Shout out to you. Do you speak Arabic, man? Hell no. I wish, but I don't. It's just difficult. I hear so many natives say, did you not, instead of didn't you. Is there a difference? No, there's no difference. It's the same thing. It's just, if you're using the contraction, didn't, then obviously you just don't say not. But grammatically, or does it change the meaning or anything like that? No, they're literally the same thing. Like, you went to the store yesterday, did you not? Or you went to the store yesterday, didn't you? It's just did you not is more formal. It's like it requires more effort to say, you know? It just sounds more formal. Did you not? It's a more of a formal way of saying didn't you. Like, didn't you is faster, easier, and more informal, but they're the same. Same thing. So sometimes if you want to be more formal, or if you just want to put emphasis on that part of the sentence, a lot of times English speakers, in places where we could use a contraction, we say the entire phrase to put emphasis on the phrase. Like, I'm try to think of a quick, easy example. They said at my company, if you worked 7 days last month, then you get $500. And I could say, well, you worked 7 days last month. Did you not? And when I say that, I'm emphasizing the fact that I believe that you did, and I'm checking to see if that's the case. Now, I could communicate the same thing by just saying, you worked 7 days last month, didn't you? But in that, it's just not, there's not as much emphasis on the fact that I believe that you actually did, and I want to check. It's a small, subtle difference. It's not something you have to worry about, but just so you know, because you're curious about the difference. A lot of times we don't use a contraction when we want to put more emphasis on that part of the phrase. Like, for example, I'm at the hospital and my son has been injured. So I go to see my son and they ask me, or they tell me, sorry, only the mother and father can see the boy right now. And I could say, I am his father. So I could also say, I'm the father. That's perfectly fine. Makes total sense. Your message has been delivered. Okay, you're good. But when I say I am the father, see, I didn't use a contraction there. I said I am the father because I'm putting emphasis like it's fucking me. I'm the father. Let me in. See, that's probably not the best example, but that's a quick and clear example of a case where I could say I'm, but by trying to put emphasis on that idea, I say I am. You know, I separate them. I don't know if that's making sense. You can let me know in the comments, but that's just the way I think about it. So, how do I improve my pronunciation living here in CA? I think you mean California, maybe Canada. I don't know. But wherever you are, how do you improve your pronunciation? Listening to more native speakers. I don't know if you were here on the live when I said find a language role model, which is basically just somebody who speaks in a way that you admire or appreciate and you would like to speak like them, and imitate them and only them. Don't worry about other accents or dialects. Just focus on one and imitate that. Having more conversations and having the other person in the conversation correct you. And then there's something called the shadowing technique that you can search for on YouTube. SHADOWING, shadowing. The shadowing technique is essentially listening to a video or an audio clip and repeating every word and sentence line by line that you hear in the audio clip. I think it's best when you have another human to tell you if you're sounding better or worse or the same, but you can do it by yourself. So that's my recommendation. Hang on a second. You told us that the best way to learn English is to read. No, the best way to learn English is to speak to real human beings. I think the best way, I shouldn't even say the best way. It depends on who you are. For some people, reading is more effective than listening. I don't know. It just depends on you. I think reading is good for picking up new vocabulary words, phrases, and expressions, creating a more colorful vocabulary if you want. But that's really it. Like, I don't think reading necessarily will help you speak better. You'll learn a lot more words, understand a lot more words for sure, but as far as learning how to speak English, you got to speak English. There's nothing that can replace real practice with real people, in my opinion. In England, teachers ask me, what teacher do you prefer, bro? I'm going to scream your name for them for real. Hey, I appreciate that, man. What's your name? Humble Thug. I appreciate that, bro. I appreciate that. Can you repeat the phrase, please, a little more slow? I don't know what phrase you're talking about. I'm sorry. Can you send it real quick before I go? Just send it in another comment. Thanks for your explanation. It was clear. Cool. It's a question tag. Well, didn't you is a tag question, but that's not what we were talking about. The phrase about don't think in something isn't. Oh, okay. All right. So the phrase I was talking about, when you decide not to think or worry about something that has not happened yet, the phrase is cross that bridge when you get to it. So I will cross that bridge when I get to it, or we will cross that bridge when we get to it, or you, or he or she, or whatever. But cross, the way I would say it is, I will cross that bridge when I get to it. I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. That's the phrase. All right. How to avoid being nervous at meetings with native speakers. It's a good question. I just don't necessarily have an answer for how do I avoid being nervous. And to be honest, I don't think that's the most important thing. I understand what you're saying, but I can't tell you how not to be nervous, because you can't control how you feel. Like, you might just be nervous for some reason. Maybe it's that person. Maybe they're attractive. Maybe they speak faster than you, or you just feel like your skills aren't as good today. There's a bunch of reasons why you might feel nervous, but I can't really teach you how to control whether or not you feel nervous. But what I will say is that what helps me personally, if I'm feeling nervous, if I'm going to talk to a group of people or in a conversation, especially in a foreign language, I just remember two simple things. Number one, it's just a person. It's just another person that I'm talking to. There's nothing not that there's nothing special about that person, but there's nothing about this person that makes them better or worse than me, especially when I don't even fucking know them. I'm just talking to them, right? So it's not like you're speaking to some god or like a deity or something that is morally like better than you in some kind of way, or has more value than you in some kind of way. It's none of that. It's just another person. Like you talk to everybody else in your daily life. It's just another person. And the second thing I think that's important to remember is you only have trouble doing something when you're nervous because you're focused on the fact that you're nervous. Like, being nervous is a normal thing. And a lot of times we confuse anxiety with excitement. So sometimes you just might be excited and you think that you're nervous or anxious. But that's besides the point. What I'm trying to say is, in those moments, stop focusing on the fact that you're nervous. Stop focusing on how you feel and focus on the person in front of you. A lot of times people like lock up and get frozen and don't know what to do or what to say because they're so focused on the fact that they're locked up and frozen and they don't know what to do or what to say. That's all they can think about, and they just let that negative feedback loop continue forever. But if you notice that you're nervous or you're anxious or whatever it is, there's a bunch of stuff you could do, breathing techniques and mindfulness exercises and all this shit. But it's just having the presence of mind to realize, maybe I'm nervous, and that's okay. But this is just another person. And by focusing on what that person is doing or thinking or saying or how they're behaving, instead of focusing on yourself, you don't have time to be nervous. You don't have time. You don't have the mental capacity to be thinking and focusing on what you're doing and feeling and saying and what they're doing and feeling and saying. You can only do one at a time. So focus on them. You know, go on the offensive instead of the defensive. I made a podcast episode about that. I think it was episode 116 or something. I talked about that, which is just focus on the other person. And you'll realize after a couple minutes, oh, we're actually having a conversation. We're just talking. It's no big deal. They're just a person. And now you're not nervous anymore. So how to overcome the nervousness, I don't know. I'm just telling you what works for me. I stopped thinking about myself so much. I stopped focusing on myself so much. Just focus on the other person. Give them my attention and my energy. I don't have time to think about how nervous I am. And then fucking 3 minutes pass and I realize I'm not nervous at all. I never was. You know? So it's different for everybody. But I would say just stop thinking so much and stop focusing on yourself so much. A lot of times, especially in public situations, you're giving a speech or talking to a small group of people or just two people, just another person. Like, you're so focused on yourself and how people are perceiving you, how I sound, did I choose the right words? Did I offend them? Was that stupid or whatever? You're so deep inside yourself, thinking about yourself. You can't think about anything else, which is why you can't do anything else. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. Just something to think about. Tengo una estudiante. Oh, shit. Hang on. Cross that bridge when you get to it. Yeah, exactly. Happened to me yesterday for an important interview. I applied for my citizenship and I'm so nervous. Citizenship in the US or where exactly? Either way, good luck. From what I hear, the process is very long and arduous and tedious. So hopefully it goes well for you, regardless of the country. Opinions on cheese. My opinions on cheese is fucking awesome. If you don't like cheese, I think something's wrong with you genetically, bro. Know how bad I feel for people that are like allergic to dairy and they can't drink milk or eat cake or ice cream or cheese, like, or butter and shit like that. Like, goddamn. You must have been like a shitty person in your past life for God to create you and say, you know what, you can't have cheese. You know what? No milk for you. No cookies, no ice cream, no whipped cream. God. Like, you must have been a shitty person in your past life, bro. Anyway, love cheese. Most foods are better with cheese. Unfortunately, in America, we eat like this, I guess, what do you call it? Pasteurized, kind of like overly processed type of cheese. Not all cheeses are created equally. You got to hunt for the real good cheeses. I'm not even sure if I've ever had real cheese because so much of the food here is fucking processed. I don't really know. But cheese, it's all right with me, man. A+ in my book, 100. I don't know why you asked me that, but that's what I think about cheese. Love cheese. All about cheese. All kinds of cheese, right? That's what I was saying. Ahora mismo estoy haciendo mi tarea de inglés. Hola. For those of you that don't speak Spanish, Fernanda, I believe is her name, while listening to this podcast or this live stream, is doing her homework. Fernanda, I appreciate you being here and listening and coming to say what's up, but go do your fucking homework, all right? I don't want to be your distraction. What type of homework you doing? It depends. If it's English homework, I might be able to help you. I can't help you with nothing else. I know someone who literally looks like you. That's what's up. All right. Yo, it's about to be 5. I've been here for 2.5 motherfucking hours. It didn't feel like it though, right? I didn't feel 2.5 hours pass. But I'm about to go, y'all. So, what's today? Friday? I don't know when this episode is coming out for those of you that are not here live with me right now. I mean, just transcribing this fucking thing. Jesus Christ. We're going to see how that goes. But anyway, I just wanted to come say what's up to y'all, talk about nothing for a little bit, and get on out of here. It was supposed to be a 30-minute episode. It turned out to be 2.5 hours. But some quick updates, man. I got more videos coming on TikTok next week for sure. Definitely more podcast episodes coming out. I believe, I don't know, I haven't decided yet. In the next podcast episode, we're going to be talking about Ebonics, Black English, African American Vernacular English. It's known by many different names, but I think it's time to talk about that. It's just going to take some time to do like all the research and prepare the episode and then record it and edit it and all those things. But I think that's what's next on the Life in English podcast. And then after doing a couple polls and asking a few people some questions, getting back to more English lessons on the YouTube channel as well. So if you follow or listen or watch on YouTube, you might have noticed that recently all I've been posting there is the podcast episodes, but I plan to get back to more lessons about English and just American culture and stuff like that. So a little bit of everything. until I figure out what you guys need the most, what you guys like the most, and what's the most fun to make, I guess. But that's it, man. I don't know when the next live stream is going to be. Probably next Friday. Probably. I can't say for sure, but most likely next Friday. I'm going to try to figure out how to like do the how to schedule it so that when you come to my profile you can see when the next one is going to be. I'm going to try to figure that out right now. But if I don't, just know that most likely next Friday afternoon around 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Most likely. I got to keep saying that. Most likely I'll be live again and I'll come say what's up to y'all. Now, if you're still with me listening at this point, I just want to say one more time, if you want to send me a message, like, don't be afraid to shoot me a message, bro. I try to respond to all of them. I don't always manage to do that. But if you have a question, you just want to say what's up, you want to recommend that I talk about a certain subject, whatever it is, don't be afraid to send your boy a message, man. Say what's up. You know? I love y'all, man. I appreciate y'all. Hopefully you're getting value from the videos and the podcast episodes and all the other stuff that's coming in the future. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode or this live stream. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to see y'all again, most likely, next Friday around 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But we'll see. All right, but that's it for... I didn't even do the intro, bro. What's up, everybody? You are listening to another episode of Life in English. I'm your host, Tony Kaizen. And the intro is now the outro. So hopefully you enjoyed, and I'm going to get at y'all later. Peace.